I'm taking on another Kerby Rosanes adult coloring page, and this time we're heading into space. And whatever this world within world scene is here. Are those lavas? A coloring page like this brings a few opportunities to try something new and a few challenges that might intimidate a new colorist. We've got a space scene in our background, a completely different sky scene in the middle here, and we've got some potential for some shiny surfaces on our spaceman. Instead of a simple starry background, I'm going all in on a colorful galaxy background today. This is something that can be really fun to try, and there's no perfect approach. I've chosen to use the Derwent Inktense pencils again for the base layer because I really liked how they performed in this book when I colored the beautiful fish page in my previous video. Because I chose to blend them with an alcohol marker instead of water, they didn't bleed through to the design on the back of the page at all. So I'm trying a similar approach today, but instead of the alcohol marker, I filled a water brush pen with some isopropyl alcohol to see if we can create a DIY version of the same thing. You'll notice I'm starting with the bright colors first, and I'm being quite rough with my lowest layers while I decide where these colors are going. Using the Derwent Inktense pencils allows you to be a little less detailed, but I'm also keeping my layers fairly light and using a circular motion. So all this means that I can rush through this first step and focus more on where I want the colors to go. I am not using any particular reference image here, but if you're unsure of what colors to use or where to place them, a good starting point is to look at other galaxy photos or images online to see which colors naturally occur or look good together in these kind of scenes. And don't be afraid to just get creative and have a go. My darker colors are all deep blues, and I'll finish off with some black later. At this point, I'm working more to blend my lighter pockets of color into my darker color, and in some cases, I'm adding an extra color in between to give them a smoother transition. For example, I'm adding a purple between the reds and the blue, or a green between the yellows and the blue. Now, it's time to see if our makeshift alcohol blender pen actually works. I'm being careful here not to just wash the alcohol over the whole area at once, because dragging the blue into the yellow or into the red will create a muddy color. So keep a tissue or a piece of paper on hand to wipe your brush pen regularly in between the colors. This is working, but it definitely doesn't give me as much control as an actual alcohol marker. It's letting out a lot of alcohol at once at unexpected times, and I'm not sure if this is really bringing out the color in the Inktense pencils in the same way that water does. But it is working enough for the base layer that I want, and I always love trying new things like this. So this is a successful experiment. It's time to add some white highlights. Yes, I am still on the base layer, so this is not my usual order of process here. I am still intending to add another layer of color on this background, but if you look at any galaxy scene, there are millions of stars in both the foreground and the background. So by creating some white highlights now in between our layers and with varying sizes, I'm hoping we'll be able to create a sense of depth and create some of these more subtle stars in the background of our final piece. This kind of stuff is definitely easier with digital art. Is that too many stars? Or not enough? So we could just stop here, and if you're starting out, this is a great simple way to create a galaxy effect. But we are not done. I'm moving to the Prismacolor pencils now, and my goal here is to refine some of these details further. I'm adding some extra colors, enhancing areas that need a bit more vibrancy, and I'm working on some of these blends a little more. More than anything, I'm adding a lot of darker blues and blacks all over this page. It's the blues and blacks that really make this for me. I love the deep dark space with the splashes of color, and the stars, they are now perfectly in the distance like we planned, hoped. Although my Prismacolor pencils have left some waxy line marks because I've used up all the texture of the paper and I have been pretty rushed through this. So my Caran d'Ache blender pencil is the perfect finishing touch to smooth this out, and I'm just wiping away the excess wax buildup with a tissue. In fact, this almost looks printed now, which is an unexpected result, but I love it. And yes, I was pressing too hard. I broke the blender. This isn't the first time this has happened. Well, I get back to my white stars. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have ever tried a scene like this and if this is something that you'll be trying after watching this video. And if you haven't already, please press that subscribe button. But we've still got a lot to color on this page, so let's get ready for our next challenge, the planets. Actually, I have no idea what I want to do for these planets yet. We'll come back to those. The spacesuit. Most astronauts are dressed in white, and I'm not sure if I want this to be a white suit or more of like a silver or chrome suit, but in planning for this, I'm reminded of the stormtrooper I colored back in my How to Draw White video, where I chose 2 light sources and the shadow fell right down the middle. That was the first time I tried a light source like that, and I haven't attempted it again since, so I think today is the day. I've gathered my colors in 2 sets. I've got a warm set and a cool set. So we're going for a warm light on our left and a cool light on our right. In each set of colors, I've got a range of light to dark grays, and then I've got a few yellows and blues as accent colors. One of the things I found great about Kerby Rosanes' coloring books is that he includes quite a bit of shading for you in his line work. So if you're unsure where to start, I always just start by blocking out these shadows in these areas first. I've also lightly drawn out where I think each of my lights will fall, so I have a little bit of a reference point to work from. And from here, I'm just trying to think through what I already know about lighting and shadows to choose which areas should be dark and light, but adding my accent colors in the lighter areas as well. It's a little bit of guesswork, but a fantasy scene like this can also be pretty forgiving. If you do want to learn more about lighting, shading, and coloring shiny objects, I've got a playlist on my channel with a few helpful videos for beginners to take you through the basics, like how to know where to put those first shadows and how to create shiny effects like gold. I've also created a written guide of this coloring page on my blog, where you can see the pencil colors I've used at each step. I'll pop a link in the description. I've decided to add some pink, although I'm not really clear on my plan for how this fits in. I just like pink and blue lighting together, so I'm taking a chance and hoping it pays off at the end. And like everything, I'm learning to trust myself more in the process. Sometimes a page just takes a little more work to go from ugly to amazing. So don't give up halfway if things aren't quite looking like you expect. I do want to add some extra shine to this suit and helmet, so I'm bringing out my white pen again and highlighting around the edges and in the lightest areas. Okay, I think it's time we color these planets. I've been unsure how I want to approach these because if I just color them in like a sphere, I'm not sure they'll look right in our overall scene, but now I have an idea. I'm only going to color the very edge and the rest of the planet will be a shadow. This looks strange now, but just wait. I'm working with my paint pens again to create a lens flare along the edge, maybe even smudge it a little and color over it again with the pencils until I get this just right. And we've got ourselves an eclipse. And that, I'm really happy with that. Finally, it's time to head into our other world inside our helmet. Do you think it's inside the helmet, or is it like a reflection from the helmet? Actually, a reflection makes more sense, even though this is still an impossible scene. So I've decided to limit myself to a somewhat monochrome color palette to suggest that the space helmet itself has a gold color to it and the scene is a reflection. I'm working with the Derwent Inktense pencils again, and I've chosen just 5 colors ranging from dark to light. A monochrome color palette is one of the easiest to work with because you're just coloring light and shadows. The clouds were probably the hardest part here, and I just followed the basic shading that Kerby Rosanes had started in the line work, creating a slight shadow at the bottom of each cloud and leaving the top of the clouds white. After a quick layer of the isopropyl alcohol in my makeshift blender pen, I'm doing some final touch-ups with my Prismacolor pencils with just 4 colors again that I match to the Inktense colors as closely as possible. And to help give my helmet its round shape, I'm adding a black shadow around the whole edge and blending it into the medium and lighter colors until it fades into the scene. One final touch. It is probably unnecessary, but a white highlight just reminds us that this is a reflective helmet and not a gaping hole in our spaceman's head. Are we done? Am I done? Should I add more stars? This page has taken me just under 5 hours, which is less than I've spent on some of my past colouring pages, because the Derwent Inktense definitely speeds up the process. Plus, this all gets easier with practice. So if you're overwhelmed at the idea of ever being able to colour something like this, don't panic. Just start somewhere and give your creativity a chance to grow. But if you did find this video helpful and want to see me colour more from Kerby Rosanes adult colouring books, here's another video for you to enjoy.